Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Talk of the Town podcast. This is your host, Matt Brown here. I hope everyone's having an amazing Monday morning. So far, it is 11 a.m. as I'm recording this. So whatever time you guys watch this afternoon or whatever, you guys are just having an amazing Monday. Again, it's been a Monday morning. I can't necessarily complain about. I went to go to Burger King about a half an hour ago. I got there at 10:29. They end breakfast at 10:30, and then I didn't end up getting any, of course. So I just found something in the freezer. Sometimes it's just what you got to do, but I can't necessarily complain about this morning. Here we are into week 2 of our podcast. I can't believe it. Gosh, last week flew by for this podcast. Like, it felt like the episodes, I just felt like I was recording them every 2 seconds, getting them out there. And then the week was over, and here I am already recording the next week. And I'm not complaining because I'm having so much fun doing this. And the growth we've seen in week 1 on this podcast was truly incredible. I mean, honestly, it really was. We were over 30, so I think we're at 35 subscribers going into this episode today. Like 10,000 views on TikTok on only three clips. I didn't even end up doing like a full week of clips. I started doing clips on Wednesday, I think. So, and on my Instagram, I had like 800 views on Instagram Reels, which is actually pretty tough to get views on, I think. Excuse me. At least from what I heard. And, I couldn't be any more excited in the direction this podcast is going. And that's a big thanks to you guys, of course. And none of this is possible without you guys. So thank you for everyone tuning in. Again, it's only up from here. This podcast is only going to get better. In a couple weeks or so, I might have some friends coming up on the podcast. I definitely have special guests coming up soon. So be ready for that. When I do have my friends on here, it's just going to be a couple of us, probably like 4 of us. We're going to do some trivia, some games, stuff like that. It's going to be fun to watch. Probably a lot of arguments on there if I do soon, but I'll keep it under control. All right. Although I'll be the one arguing sometimes, I'm sure. But all right, let's get into the first segment of this video. Finally, the Bengals sign Shemar Stewart. That whole debacle is finally over. He signed a 4-year, fully guaranteed $18.97 million contract on Friday. I was debating on even posting something on Saturday, like a little 10-minute thing. I am going to start doing that, by the way. I'm going to start posting multiple videos a day. Obviously, I'm going to have my long videos, and I'll post quick, 8-10-minute videos to something that happens. So be ready. But anyway, he signed an $18.97 million contract. But this was a long time coming for the Bengals. This story has gone in a bunch of crazy directions. It's gone from him maybe going back into the draft next year, playing at college again, and then the whole thing, last week with the owner having to have him sign. I don't even know. It was ridiculous. If you see it, you've seen it. That's in the past now, of course. He said there's no hard feelings, which I doubt. He's definitely holding a grudge in his chest somewhere. But when you sign a $19 million contract, some of those feelings do go away. But it took him a lot to get to that point. And it's one of the last rookies to sign. I think Quinshawn Judkins has not signed yet. He's the Browns rookie running back. Although I think he's in some legal trouble right now, apparently. So we'll see what happens with that. But I think for the Bengals, the Shemar Stewart signing, now they can sleep with one eye open and one eye closed instead of both eyes open. Because now you still have to deal with the Trey Hendrickson situation, and your defense still stinks. I definitely say this is a step in the right direction. We still have no idea whether this guy can play or not. This is not a saving grace for the Bengals, him being signed. This isn't them re-signing TJ Watt like the Steelers did. Okay, we know this guy's going to go out and ball and he's going to be their best player on the team. Obviously, it's a capability to do so. Maybe not as a rookie. Like rookies, you still have to develop, obviously, a lot. But he only like what was it? I think he only had 4.5 sacks in college. Make sure I'm correct on that. Yeah, he had 4.5 sacks in 37 games. He only had 1.5 sacks last season going into this draft. He's a project player. Shemar Stewart is a project player. High again, very high ceiling, highly athletic player. But can you trust the Bengals, especially with how they know he's a project player, and even just getting him on the team to start off has been an issue? Can you trust the personnel to this point to bring him up to that level of being a great pass rusher? There's a lot of question marks with him anyway. Like, obviously, he can be a great player, but again, don't think this is all of a sudden, okay, now the Bengals are Super Bowl contenders. Now they'll definitely be in the playoffs. We have no idea how this guy's going to be. Like, this is, again, like I said, this is not a guarantee at all. Honestly, a lot of people are skeptical of Shemar Stewart. Can he be great? Absolutely. But either way, the chances of being great in this league are slim to none, even when you're in the league. Like, even him just being average would be a win. And the problem is with the Bengals is, yes, like an average defensive lineman would help, but their defense is just lacking. I went through a list of their offensive or their off-season signings this year. No, there's really no improvements. Because like Geno Stone was miserable last year, who's still starting for your team. Your cornerbacks are very, very streaky, inconsistent. Honestly, I don't trust Zach Taylor, but as far as I can throw him, there's just a lot of question marks with the Bengals that are not being addressed as much as they should. Again, a lot of it gets overlooked when you had Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, I understand, but you're not winning a Super Bowl with two players. You're just not. You're not doing it. I really don't trust that head coach. They had that one outlier year. Okay, maybe you can call it two because they made the AFC Championship again the next year. No, I'll give them that. But besides that, they haven't been to the playoffs in this season in 3 years coming up now. 2 to 3 years they haven't been in the playoffs. And that's this year. And the year before that, I understand Joe Burrow got hurt. Jake Browning actually played okay. I think they actually finished 9-8. But they still were loaded with talent. They still had some guys on defense that were good, but they lost. Again, just the whole situation with the Bengals now. What does this mean for Trey Hendrickson, the Shemar Stewart thing? Do they now say, okay, we're going to try to move off of Trey Hendrickson now that we got Shemar Stewart? Let's try moving forward. Hopefully this guy can replace him. Now, will he be at Trey Hendrickson's level last year? No. I can already call it no. He's a rookie. He's not doing it. There's a lot of question marks coming in anyway. If he does, you guys can clown me all you want. Full freedom. Even if he gets close to it, I'd be surprised. He'd have a good season if he had 6 or 7 sacks. Like, honestly, I think he's going to finish around maybe 3 or 4. But we'll see, of course. Or are they now going to say, okay, let's just sign Trey Hendrickson and put these guys together? The problem is, though, Trey Hendrickson's not going to be cheap, and this is a cheap organization. It's historically known for being cheap. It goes back to the Marvin Lewis days before Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer's getting beat to death and didn't want to play there anymore because they were cheap. They are just known for being cheap. But, I mean, they went out, they made some splash signings that honestly, like not taking away anything, any other team is re-signing Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. If they have them on their team, they're just re-signing them to a ton of money. So, excuse me, they're just re-signing them to a bunch of money. That's, I give them credit, but at the same time I don't, because that's like again, Joe Burrow is just being their number one overall. Can you give the GM a lot of credit for saying he's the one who drafted Joe Burrow? No, anyone else would have drafted him there. Again, that goes for any GM who drafts a high talented number one overall pick who turns out to be good. Like, anyone else would have done that. Like, anyone else would have re-signed Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. I can't really give them too much credit. I give them credit for getting out of their extremely cheap ways, because probably 20 years ago they wouldn't have done it, maybe even sooner than that. But yeah, the whole Shemar Stewart thing is still just a massive question mark. This is not a savior to the season. Again, they're sleeping with now one eye closed and one eye open instead of never sleeping and having both eyes open. You still have the Trey Hendrickson thing looming and your defense in total. And to me, your head coach is still a question mark. So, again, the Bengals, we'll see coming up this season. Signing Trey Hendrickson would be a massive W. That would definitely help a lot. They definitely gain some more steam, but I don't think that'd be enough to get them over that hump still. So, our next topic here, we have, what is Jayden Daniels' ceiling going into the 2025 NFL season? And some of his comparisons he's getting. Obviously, his main comparison is Lamar Jackson. But people say, well, he can run like Lamar, but he's a better passer than Lamar. And in Lamar's credit, Lamar still kind of gets bashed for his passing, not as much as he used to, like 3-4 years ago. Even back in his 2019 MVP season, he was getting bashed. He's a running back. Remember all the running back things about Lamar. Lamar can throw. Lamar can sling the ball. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I think the thing is with Jayden Daniels and Lamar's passing ability, I think Jayden Daniels has a bit of a better arm. Like, just hold on, let me think of a better word. Like, I think they both have really strong arms, but I think Jayden Daniels is just a lot more fluent. Like, he looks a lot more natural throwing the ball than Lamar Jackson. There's no doubt about it. He's a better thrower of the ball, but I don't necessarily think that makes him a better passer. If you get what I'm saying, like, he looks better throwing it. He just throws a better ball. But they're both great passers. Lamar threw for over 4,000 yards this year. I mean, he had he had his best year passing so far. And even I think his last couple of years, he's been really good passing the ball. And this is with a running back that almost went for 2,000 yards. He passed like that. Like, that's pretty incredible. And to Jayden Daniels' credit, he's not as good as a runner as Lamar, but he is Lamar is like top 2 or 3 like rushing quarterbacks of all time. I'd say it's him, Cam, and Vic. And I think Josh Allen's creeping up there a little bit, but I don't necessarily think Allen's as good in the open field. You give me Allen, Lamar, Jayden, Vic, Cam. I'm taking Cam, Lamar, and Vic all day. And just the open field, you're starting off at the other 20, and Lamar takes off. I'm taking him over them any day. Again, Jayden's good at that, but he just has a lot skinnier of a frame. When he takes off, he does take some hits. That was kind of his thing coming out. Like, he needs to slide passing, or else he's going to get demolished out on the field. That goes for any quarterback, but especially Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels has more limitations than Lamar, I believe. Excuse me, my goodness. Than Lamar in the open field, just due to his weight and frame. Now, we can put on some pounds. We'll have a different conversation. But again, they're very similar in play style, like extremely similar. But I think people undervalue Lamar's passing. Like, he's not an infinitely better passer than Lamar Jackson. And again, I'm only bringing up Lamar because that's his comp. You ask anyone what his comp is, they say Lamar every single time. I remember when they played last year, they mentioned Jayden and Lamar. And that's why I bring up Lamar so much. I mean, I'm not going to compare Jayden to Cam. Jayden is not Cam Newton. He's not a bruiser. He's not a guy who trucks people over. That'll never be Jayden Daniels. He's not Josh Allen. That's just not his play style. And he's just elusive. I'd say one thing he's better than Lamar at is, again, though, like, I'm picking hair. I'm splitting hairs here. I really am. Because Lamar's very good at it too, is when he's just in the backfield and has to create a play. I think he's better than Lamar at throwing the deep ball, having to just run, like, sprint out of the pocket, just create and do whatever. He's a little better than Lamar at that, I'd say, so far. And the thing is, there's only room for improvement for Jayden Daniels, which is insane because that was only his first year. That's why I say I think he had the greatest rookie quarterback. I think it was better than Stroud's, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people agree with that. I think he's a better quarterback than C.J. Stroud. But Jayden Daniels has an extremely high ceiling. He is an all-time ceiling. That's all I'm going to say. He has potential to be a top 10 quarterback. Seriously. Especially what he did with the Washington franchise in general, compared to where they were 2 years ago, the year before they drafted number 2 overall, to 60 minutes away from a Super Bowl appearance. And I think they very well could have won the Super Bowl if they got there. Not saying it would have been a cakewalk, but they could have done it. You've seen the Chiefs in that Super Bowl. Now, that was a lot due to how the Eagles were, but again, they were 60 minutes away from a Super Bowl appearance. And a lot of that is due to Jayden Daniels freestyling back there and doing whatever he wants to do. Just going crazy, running out in the open field, making plays. We had one of the best fourth down offenses in the league, I think, NFL history last year. He was clutch, and I give him a lot of credit. And I think he has, again, like I said, an all-time potential ceiling to be a top 10 quarterback. Again, he's a guy that's, you just don't, I think you're going to see more of as we go on in the years, but that won't be as good as him. Just masterful throwing the football, and you have to worry about him getting out in the open field. Again, not as good as a runner as Lamar, but he's a great runner. He's a bit of a different runner. Like, it's hard to explain. Again, you're splitting hairs. He's just a bit different. If you want to say he's a better passer than Lamar, I guess I can agree. Again, you're kind of splitting hairs with how and why he is. They're both great passers, but I definitely agree with the Lamar comp. But Jayden Daniels just feels a little different. You're splitting hairs. So next up on my list, I have, why is the NBA viewership so low anymore? Especially over the last couple of years. Compared to where it was 10 years ago, it's astronomically different. And it was declining about 10 years ago. I mean, it's just been declining. It all started with the Golden State dynasty. I mean, I don't care who you are. I'm a massive Patriots fan. I get why people hated watching the Super Bowl with the Patriots were in it. Would felt like every year. The same way with the Chiefs. Who wants to watch the Chiefs? Can I see someone else? I'd rather see the Titans and the Saints face off in the Super Bowl than see the Chiefs and the Eagles again. I mean, serious. Because it just, that factor of wanting to see something new and not see the same thing every year is like, ugh. But if you're a Chiefs fan, you're living life. Like me as a Patriots fan, I was living life for pretty much my whole life. I was born in 2003. I mean, every year I was living life till I was about 16 years old. And then Mac Jones and Cam Newton. But it looks like now they're on the uptrend, which is great. But again, coming back to the NBA, it started off with the Golden State dynasty, to be honest with you. And when the viewership came back for a brief period of time, was that Toronto and Golden State finals? I think just about any one of my friends, or even like my dad, I could talk about that finals with anybody. We all watched it. Seeing Toronto just whoop Golden State's ass, even though, they didn't have KD, that roster was depleted, and Golden State almost kind of came back to the 6. It felt good to watch. Seeing Kawhi Leonard, that storybook run in Toronto, him against Philly in the second round, whatever, if not, you can call the craziest buzzer beater of all time to advance them into the Eastern Conference Finals. That was an amazing run right there. I brought viewership back. Then COVID killed a lot in life, restaurants, everything. Viewership for sports, everything. I'm not gonna bash the NBA for that. They had it harder though with the whole Rudy Gobert. I don't know if you guys remember. It was like a couple of days before the COVID outbreak. Rudy Gobert started touching the mics and all. sitting there mocking COVID. People despise Rudy Gobert for that. Still despise him. He's the most hated player in the NBA, no question. Because of that, I'm not necessarily saying I hate anybody, anything. I'm just saying on the general public's opinion. Yeah, they hate Rudy Gobert. And that really put a stain on the NBA. A lot of people didn't like the bubble at all. They call LeBron James' reign the Mickey Mouse reign. They don't claim it's real. That's a topic for another day because I do. I think it's some of the hardest. That might be one of the hardest championships ever right there. And I'll explain that in a different video coming up maybe this week. But that, again, like I said, that took a stain on the NBA. Adam Silver has not been great for ratings. Again, I talked about last week the All-Star games, the dunk contest, everything is declining for the NBA right now. And now they added the in-season tournament. Nobody cares about that, to be honest with you. Adam Silver's obsessed with tournament-style play. Let's add a tournament in the All-Star game. No matter what it is, it'd be fun to watch, but he is obsessed with tournament-style play. He is. And to a certain extent, it's like, bro, how many are you going to have? It's a lot to keep up with sometimes. And I think another thing that has to do with it, and I think it's just a massive thing, and I think one thing that's kind of killing baseball a little bit, is their main players. I'm not saying I agree with this or anything, but I'm just saying in general, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, Victor Wembanyama, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, like their main players, none of them are from the USA. None of them. They don't, Joel Embiid played on Team USA, but none of them go out to the Olympics and represent Team USA. Joel Embiid caught a lot of flack from his country and his fans for not playing for his country, his team. Mm-hmm. Because it would feel weird if Jokic and Giannis and Shai and Victor all played for Team USA, because none of these guys are from the US, but they go on and respectively play for their countries. Like 100% agree, go do that, But it's hard as a consumer to, I'm just trying to think of what to say. Like, if they were to walk in the room, I don't want to say most people because they're so good and so popular still, but most people could not say their name. They said, who is that? I see people say like, who is that? How do you pronounce his name? What is like, that kind of kills sports or like a specific sport. Because the thing is with like Jordan went to college in North Carolina. Now, like I know like some of these guys, like Shane, they still go to college here, but like those guys are born and bred like U.S. players, and the fans crave that. They eat that up. Like, yeah, that's our player right there. They do. They just do. Like LeBron, as much as people like they bash LeBron, people love LeBron at the same time. Akron, Ohio, most people can name where he's from, where he grew up. He went to Mount St. Mary's, and not as many people can say that, but they know Cleveland. LeBron, Cleveland. Giannis saying where? Greece, Victor, France, a lot of people the consumer just doesn't necessarily enjoy having a majority of the player base, like your best players, all being formed. Luka Doncic is another example. Like, I don't necessarily care, and I don't necessarily think people like care in like a bad way, but it just makes it kind of hard for people to get into. A lot of it is just first sight seeing. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what to say. Yeah, I think you get what I'm saying, but again, it's just it's hard. The NBA is, and again, it goes way further and deeper than that alone. Like the defense, you can't play defense in the league anymore. I watched the NBA Finals this year. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander every play is shoving his elbow into Andrew Nemhard or Aaron Nesmith or Tyrese Halliburton, whoever was guarding him. She's shoving them 3 feet ahead. Not once called for an offensive foul. He'd have an open shot every single time. Went to the free throw line and did that. Every single time. But Andrew Bernhard went to go like this and barely touched him. They couldn't blow that whistle fast enough. They could not blow that whistle fast enough. And again, that's why people call Shea the free throw merchant. He shoots a gazillion free throws, but again, literally shoves people out of the way when he's in the free throw area shooting a jump shot and never gets called for it. And he scores like 30. He scored over 30 a game this year doing that. The imbalance of offense and defense is too much. It is too much of an offensive league. And that's where I'm kind of afraid like the NFL's heading a little bit, is the defense. They're making it to where you can't touch them. Or else you get called. Players, the second you touch their pinky finger and they're going up for the ball, they're throwing their hands up, doing this for the flag. And it ruins the sport. It is unbearable to watch when there's just 1,000 flag or 1,000 foul calls in any sport. Defense is dying in sports because they're just making it, again, they want to make it offensive heavy because they have fun seeing people score. But again, at the same time, it's kind of miserable to watch sometimes because it feels like no matter what you do, and I can only imagine in the players' shoes how frustrating it is to just, you have to sit there and basically just go like this and hope they miss or hope they don't catch the ball or anything. Like, that's just a sports problem in general right now. So that's a lot of why the NBA is declining. Again, I could go on for this for hours of why the NBA is declining, but again, I think some of the ideas they're proposing is good. I think they had to get out of the draft lottery for one. And baseball too. The lottery sucks. A majority of people don't like the lottery because you know why? You have the Dallas Mavericks picking number one. You have the Cleveland Guardians picking number one. I think, was it last year? It's horrible. It is horrible to watch. And I feel so bad for teams like the Rockies or the Wizards. They can never get a top pick, no matter how bad they are. Because the team is in the play-in tournament or a team is in the playoffs, the wild card round. They're drafting number one overall. It is ridiculous. Like, why is that happening so much? Again, they're so worried about tanking players, no matter what. Guys in the NFL, I don't care how bad they are, those guys are not going to tank because their jobs are on the line. If they go 0-16, guess what the owner and the GM and just the ownership's going to do? Most of that roster is either out of the league or gone somewhere else on some nothing contract and probably will never play again. Those players are playing their hearts and souls out. You know what those players in the NBA are doing? The same thing. The same thing. Teams are not tanking as much as they think they are. You know what? If they are, so be it. They suck anyway. Who cares? Like, obviously, if they're losing every game 20-0, okay, then there's an issue. But if they're losing every game 2-3, who cares? No one's watching them anyway. Like, it just makes me mad. They need to get the lottery out of sports. That's one of the worst things in sports is the draft lottery. Teams that suck forever in the draft lottery, unless they get extremely lucky. It's brutal. And my next topic is, again, I can barely read my own handwriting. Okay. Again, I'll kind of go over this quickly. Should teams start their starting players in the preseason? I mentioned this because we have our first preseason game in a couple of days. Again, football. It's almost back, people. I can't preach it enough. So the amount of content we're going to have on here is nuts. So, do I think they should start their starting players? No. And yes, I think some teams literally start their starters for a drive, and that's it. I get it due to injury, especially if you're playing in MetLife. Yeah, don't start your players. But I think one thing we see with teams is they get off to an extremely slow start, mainly because those players are so cold out there. Not like cold temperature-wise, but you know what I mean. Like, they just have not played in an actual game setting. So I think they should really give their players a little bit more of an opportunity to play. I get it. The injury risk is there. And it sucks if your player gets injured. You're like, why did I do that? You're going to catch a lot of heat. I think a lot of coaches and teams are just afraid of catching the heat of a player being out for the season or a majority of or 4 weeks, whatever the case is, in 2 weeks due to playing in the preseason. They're going to lose their job off of that. And I fully understand. It's a lose-lose to me. Like, as much as I'd love to see the Patriots starting lineup play in the preseason, even if it's just for a quarter, they usually only do it for a drive, and they couldn't roll them out faster. They couldn't. And I get it to a degree. Like, if Drake May were to go down and hold his ankle, I'd be like, dude, literally, I'd sit there and almost be in tears. The season hasn't even started. You wait all this time to see your team and your quarterback's down holding their ankle. Your first round draft pick is down holding their leg. Like, yeah, I get it. It's a lose-lose. As much as we love to watch it, and I think it's good to get the players in some sort of actual game sense of being out there, at the same time, you just don't want to risk it. So I can't blame them for putting their players out there. It's fun to watch for a little bit, but then it's like, okay, need to get him out before they get hurt. Because they seem to, at least someone seems to get hurt every single time. And my last topic today, what is at stake for Justin Herbert in the Chargers going into the 2025 NFL season? There's a lot at stake, for sure. Especially more for Justin Herbert than the Chargers. Again, the Chargers have been good teams forever, but have always been disappointing. So people aren't necessarily holding them to not be disappointing, to be honest with you. It's in the back of everyone's heads. They have a disappointing season, it's the Chargers. You know, what do you expect? I'm not bashing it, it's just the truth. All those years with Philip Rivers and did nothing. Even before that, they Drew Brees, Dan Fouts, just nothing with it. They've had a stretch of quarterbacks for decades of great quarterbacks and have done nothing. So it's not a surprise that the Chargers are disappointing. But again, a lot of people, I've seen Colin Cowherd, they have the Chargers winning this division this year. I'm not putting my trust in the Chargers to win nothing. Nothing. I don't trust the Chargers to win 10 games, to be honest with you. I do think they're going to win 10 games. I had them last week when going 10-7, but I don't trust them. They have some bad juju around them. I don't know what it is, but I do not trust that team. But more, if you were to tell me what's more at stake, the Chargers team or Justin Herbert, 1,000% Justin Herbert. People are now finally starting to say, okay, Justin Herbert's getting all this praise, but what has he done? This is the year to win at least a playoff game. If you can win a playoff game, it's a success year for him. But there's a lot he needs to at least get to an AFC championship, I feel like. Well, do I feel like they have the offensive personnel at the receiving core? No. I don't think I think receiver is the most overrated position in the league right now. People think you need a Justin Jefferson to get to the Super Bowl, and you don't. Look at the Chiefs. Yeah, that's a perfect example right there. The Patriots throughout a lot of those years, they never had a guy who was like an all-time talent. They had Randy Moss and Gronk, but I know the Chiefs have had Kelsey, but people are more focused on receiver than tight end. They just talk about receiver. Even with Kelsey, the Chiefs' main thing, people say they don't have a main receiver. But I think they can still do good. They have a lot of limitations on offense. They signed Rashawn Slater yesterday, which was a massive win for the Chargers. But I don't know. Justin Herbert, again, Jalen Hurts now going to 2 Super Bowls and winning 1. Doesn't look good for him. Again, people don't talk about Joe Burrow with Joe Burrow. He's been to an AFC championship and was 2 minutes away from winning a Super Bowl. Tua's had a lot of injury problems. People slam Tua all the time. People don't necessarily hold Tua to the standard of Justin Herbert, those guys. But again, Herbert's getting a ton of praise. It's time to show something for him. You have guys in your draft class that have been to Super Bowls, and honestly, you get like Justin Herbert, maybe probably besides Joe Burrow, is talked about more than anyone. He gets talked about more than Jalen Hurts easily. He's ranked higher than Jalen Hurts on a lot of people's lists, quarterback lists. So yeah, lots at stake for him. I mean, obviously, if they don't win anything this year, he's going to be on the team. Like, there's no doubt in my mind Justin Herbert's going to be a Charger for the next, like, 3 or 4 years. No, just he's Jim Harbaugh's guy. I'm not saying any of that. And Justin Herbert ain't going nowhere in LA. But just in terms of his legacy alone, yeah, there's a lot at stake for Herbert. Like, maybe even his confidence and just in the team. Yeah, Herbert and the Chargers definitely have a lot of pressure on them this year. They know that, so let's see what they do with it going into the 2025 NFL season. And that is it for my 6th episode of my podcast today. Again, heading into week 2 this week of the Talk of the Town podcast. Again, thank you to everyone supporting me, viewing anything. I wrote a nice little thing on my social medias on Friday about it. I'm probably going to do it at the end of every week, little like kind of progression report. Anything is progress. It's only up from here. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning into the show. I can't thank you guys enough. I know I say it a lot, but it is just the truth. I can't even explain how thankful I am for you guys. So again, I'll see you guys tomorrow, and everyone have an amazing Monday.